What you're going to learn in this video is how to go from a cube to a human male base mesh. You're going to learn how to take curves and take those curves and quickly turn them into arms as well as leg mesh. You're going to learn to quickly make fingers. You're going to learn how to use mask, the smooth modifier, as well as other techniques to work on your human male base mesh. You're also going to learn how to place reference, as in 2D reference, to work through your male base mesh. So thanks for taking a look at this tutorial, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hi, this is Ali Arango, and today I'm going to show you how to make a male character body step by step in Blender 3.6. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Edit Preferences. Here in Preferences, you want to put a check mark next to 3D View, 3D Navigation. What you're looking at is these are built-in add-ons that come with Blender. This is all default in Blender. Even though they're add-ons in Blender, you basically have to turn them on. I use this for navigation as well as that. Other things that you want to have on as far as the add-ons. You want to have definitely this Mesh F2, this Mesh Loop Tools as well. Okay, with those add-ons turned on, when you press the N key, you'll see this panel here pop up on the side. When you go to View and then down to 3D Navigation, you'll see these. You can get around in Blender by hovering your mouse over this plus sign. So if you hover, like I'm left clicking and then dragging up and down, this will let you zoom in and out. If you go over this hand, this will let you pan. These are very useful. That being the case, I tend to, as far as rotating, I tend to hold the mouse button to rotate. I tend to switch my views by this front, back, left, right. I like how this works. So this is what we're going to be using as we work our way through this video. So we're going to make sure we're in front view. When you click front view, right, this would take you in a front orthographic view. Orthographic view is kind of like a blueprint view. It's like literally looking at an object as straight as you can. If you look to your upper left, you'll see this says front orthographic. So you're ever wondering like which viewpoint you're in, just look to your left, and this you should be able to see where you're at. Okay, I have a basic male base that I made. I'm gonna blow that up, put this on the screen, and you can screenshot it. I used to download this. I really don't see that much of a point of downloading. You should be able to just take a screenshot and then go from the screenshot. I'll leave that there for 5 seconds from now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that's what we're going to be using. Okay, so once you have that screenshot, I'll show you how to drag this in. Pretty easy. So here is that image picture. I left click, I drag this in, just like that. Okay, one of the reasons why we're using this is this helps us with basic proportions, gives us a basic guideline. We'll use this to get the front of the character, we use this for the side. When we brought this in, this was brought in as an empty. If you look to your right, you can see this is what's called the outliner in Blender. See this where this says empty here? That is that picture, right? When you click on this empty, if you look to your right, where we see this data, we see front side male.png. That is this right here. The reason why this is important is you want to put a check mark next to this opacity, and then this lets you take the opacity down and up. Okay, because this is an empty, we can move this around. So I have this currently selected. I'm going to go to the left. This is the move tool. I'm going to take the move tool. Whoa, okay. You can grab here and make this bigger. I didn't know that. I'm not sure if that's new or not. Anyway, what we want to do is put this, so we want to have the head be the size of the cube. That's how I do things, right? So see how the cube is blocking the character? What you want to do is click front, and then now you can see the cube very lightly. To see the cube more, which you definitely want to see it more, you control that by this opacity here, right? So basically we want the head to be the size of the cube. I'm going to zoom back. This is neat. So we can scale this up just by grabbing that line there. Normally I would use S to scale. So what we're doing here is we're lining this up. This being the empty, which is the picture. We want this to be basically the size of the head. We also want this blue line going through the center of the body. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to zoom in. I'm actually going to press S to scale on the Z axis to make this slightly bigger. I'm going to click on our empty, make this slightly bigger as well. I'm going to use the move tool to get the head back in place. Again, pay attention to the center line there. Okay, so once you have this basically where you want it to go, this is our front view. If you look to your left, you can see that. What we're going to do is hold Shift, press D, duplicate this, right? So then we're going to press, I think, Y, Z, 9, 0, then left click. So what we did was we duplicated this image. So now I'm going to select right. Oh, excellent. So now when we went to right, this right image is right where it should be. So this will allow us to work as far as when you're working in 3D, you're typically rotating around an image. So if I click front here, here's the front. You can see the other image there. It's going back away from what we're looking at. I select right, and that's in a correct position. I'll go back to front. If I hold the middle mouse button, you can still see well, it gives you a good idea of like what you're actually looking at. I don't tend to like this view, so typically what I'll do is I'll make it so you can only see this in orthographic mode. So when I say this, currently, we go to front view. So we're currently selected on the side view, right? So if I click here, I'll go back to this view. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate, right? So here's the front image. See where we say show in orthographic as well as perspective? If I unclick perspective, that disappears. I click this. So now we're on there's two pictures, two empties, right? We're on the second empty. So now I also don't want this to show on perspective, so I select here. So basically when we're rotating, we'll just see the object, which is how I like it. However, when we select front, the picture shows up. We select right, this picture shows up. I'll go back to front. Okay, something else we can do to make things easier for ourselves. If we look to the outliner, we see this eye as well as this camera, right? I'm looking to the upper right. So where the eye is at, that allows us to see in our viewport, whatever is actually in the viewport. If the camera basically represents what we'll render. Now we can have other options besides this by going to this little, looks like a funnel right here. I'll click that. Here's our options here. And what I'm going to do is turn on this pointer. Basically, that's what it looks like to me. And then for the empty, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away that triangle, I guess it is, pointer. And basically, this allows you to select something or not select it. So because I don't have this selected, when I go to click now, I can't click them. I can't click either one of them. You can kind of see the line for the other empty that has the other picture to the right here. And I don't want to use them. I want to use these for what they are, which is reference images. I don't want to select them by accident. So that's where this is useful. Okay, I'm hoping that this goes fairly quickly. For those of you who are used to how I do things, basically on this channel, I try to explain everything step by step. I'm almost always learning something new. A lot of what I learned here is from a Blender YouTube artist. He goes by Speed Character, at least that's the name of his channel. Excellent videos. Excellent videos. So a lot of this, not all of it, but a lot of it I learned from him. I'm just giving credit where credit's due. Okay, when it comes to Blender, a lot of times it's not just Blender, 3D in general. A lot of times there's multiple different ways of doing things. It's one of the difficulties can be how do you choose to do something. I tend to like things that, for the most part, go for speed. General philosophy. This is, I think, extremely fast. So anyway, what we're about to do. So this is a stand-in for now, right? I'm holding Shift and the middle mouse button to pan because I did that with the hand. This 3D cursor, in Blender, the 3D cursor is important because wherever your cursor's at in Blender is where objects will come into Blender at. So I'm going to hold Shift, press A. I'm going to bring in a cylinder. So there's a cylinder there, right? Basically, when I'm looking at the cylinder, I'm looking at the neck. This is thicker than the neck. So what I can do is press S to scale, right? I'm going to go to the right view. I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis, sorry. And then I'm going to take this cylinder up, push it into the head, press R to rotate. No axis. The reason why I can just press R to rotate instead of in axes, when I say axes, I'm talking about X, Y, and Z. Basically, the sets how you turn something. When you're in an orthographic view, like this is literally just a right view. So I can press R and I know that this is going to rotate, you know, pretty much like I'm using my mouse, right? So this is basically the neck. I'm going to go back to the front view by selecting the front button. I have the 3D cursor here. Remember where the 3D cursor is at. It's where objects tend to come into Blender at. I'll hold Shift, press A. Shift A is the keyboard command for bringing objects into Blender. I'm going to go to a UV sphere. It popped up right where the 3D cursor is at. I push this down. I'm going to move this up. Now remember, we can see through the body because of we set the opacity. If you're like, well, how come you can't see or whatever, we clicked on the empty, we set the opacity by clicking on the data. You won't see the data unless you're clicked on the empty. So if by some chance you don't see the opacity, you're going to have to turn this arrow back on, right? Then click on it, then go to data, then see the opacity. Okay, some other things we're going to use to help ourselves out. We're going to click here. All right, so see these are three viewing modes in Blender. If I go to the arrow, I'm going to go down to matte cap. I'm going to set this to random. Random basically changes the color in Blender, lets you see the objects in separate colors. Pretty useful. We also want to go here. This lets you see things that, well, it's called show overlays. So it lets you, if I click this will take away like everything but the objects. Anyway, next to that, there's an arrow. And see where you see statistics. It's very useful to have turned on. So you're going to put a check mark next to that. When I clicked here, see this right here, this is showing us how many polygons we have in our scene. Very useful. Okay, other things we can do to make it easier to model. Right here, this is difficult to see. All right, so pay attention to this right here. There's a little, like it's so small. It's so small, it's hard to see, but there's it's actually not even an object. Like in between here and here, there's a little, not even a button. It's like just the in-between space. See how when I have my mouse over there, it turns to like little two arrows, right? And that lets me adjust like the size. If I click, which I didn't, I could adjust the size of this, that, right? Right above that. So when I move my mouse down, 2 arrows, right? Move it up, and you have a cross symbol. Move it down, 2 arrows, up cross symbol, down 2 arrows, right? When you move it up, you have that little cross symbol. If you left click and drag, what the heck? I right click to get out of that, sorry. There we go. All right, so basically what I'm doing is I'm making 2 windows to help model. When I moved this first, it like showed me like this other window, and then when I right click to get out of that, a lot of times in Blender, right click is kind of like a get out of mode, right? Anyway, we have this here. I want another window, right? This window will act just like this window here. I'll go here, see that little cross again. I'll left click, drag this down. Now I have a second window here. Okay, so we're going to use this to have another view of our model so we can see it fairly clearly while we work here. We're going to use this to work. We're going to use this to see our model, right? So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to press N to take away this, right? So N brings this panel in. That's the same panel as there, right? This right here is our tool panel. I can press N to take that away. I can then, when I'm on here, I'll hold my middle mouse button, drag this to the side, right? This show overlays, when I click that, that takes pretty much everything away. Now here, what I can do, see how we have like, this is that random matte cap. I'm going to click here. I'm going to turn this to Studio, and I'm going to turn this to Material so we can see how things basically look without without colors or anything on there. Okay, and this takes away everything else. So we'll use this kind of like, you can set this however you want. You use this basically to have a different view of what we're doing here without the reference or any of that. This, what we're going to do is go to here. These are how you can get around Blender. So we're down below, directly below that window I was just working in is the 3D viewport. We're going to go to the image editor, right? This is the image editor. Basically, we can put pictures here. Blender knows that we have this picture here, so we'll go to here, and then we'll select this front side male. I'm rolling the mouse. So now we have a picture to look at here, a reference to go from here. You could also use this for other references if you wanted to. I'm going to go to the hand and drag to move that. I guess I'll keep it here, like it fills up the frame. Okay, so we have this, right? So what we're going to do here, mostly what we're going to do here is sculpting. We'll do some box modeling, right? So when I say box modeling, that's like literally taking a cube like this and extruding pieces of it, right? It's like it's very low poly. It's effective for making low poly things. Sculpting tends to be when you take polygons and make them much higher polygon density. So the polygon density on the screen right now, this is 1096, right? The way most modern things are done is through sculpting as far as characters. A lot of times when it comes to mechanical things, you'll still use box modeling, right? We'll probably use a combination to go through this, making this male character body. Now that was a lot of setup. If you're still here, let's move on. So we have this selected currently, right? So what we want to do is we're going to go to sculpt mode, right? These are our sculpting tools right here. So what I'm going to do is hover my mouse right here, drag this to the side. You don't have to do this. I like even dragging this to the side. I think this gives me more speed rather than scrolling down. So that's why I did this, for speed's sake. Okay, here in sculpt mode allows you to use all of these different tools to make your character, right? If you look to the upper right, see this X, Y, and Z? You want to turn on this X to do mirror work, which we're about to do. Pretty much what we want to do now is we want to basically make, actually before we do that, I'm going to go to view, I'm going to go to right, and see how this UV sphere is thicker than it needs to be. I'm actually going to go back to object mode. With this selected, you can tell it's selected because it's highlighted. I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. Don't want to scale it down. S to scale on the Y axis. Okay, so we have this now, right? So we're going to go back to front view. We're going to go back to sculpt mode. Oh, there's a thing. See that object has non-uniform scale. When you're in object mode and when you change the scale of something, pretty much what you want to do to have things work right without error codes is hold Control, press A. This menu pops up. This is apply. And typically what I'll do is I'll go to all transforms. And what that does is that makes things right. I could explain more. Ask me in the comment section if you want to know more about that. Anyway, we're going to go, typically when you scale something, it's a good idea to hold Control, press A, and then apply all transforms. So go back to scope mode. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the elastic deform brush. I'm going to zoom in. Pay attention to the polygons. Currently we're at 512, which is the default setting for bringing in a UV sphere. You want to make sure you have this X on, which we do. I'm going to press F, which increases the size of my brush. Pulling this out to get general shape of the shoulders. I'm going to pull this down in the front. Notice that I'm clicking and letting go numerous times. It does make a difference between whether you click and let go or just click and drag. You want to go to the back. You're going to see you're going to have to pull this in the back down as well. You're not able to just pull it down in the front. Typically when you're working in 3D, you need to make sure that you're working on all angles. So I'm lining up the back to match more up with the reference. We'll go to the front. I'm going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to go to the side. We'll pull this out. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'll press N to take that other menu away. These shoulders also need to go more to the side. Press N to bring the menu back. So what I did there is like the shoulders, basically where your arms, the arms come out of the shoulders, right? The pretty much where your arms actually go. Like if you're thinking like the front, the side, the back, they actually are pretty lined up towards like near your back. All right. Holding shift, holding the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to go back to front view. Okay, what we want to do now is see these faces here at 512. Let's take this up to 10,000. To do that, we'll press R. I'm paying attention to the squares here, not particularly the numbers. And I'm going to hold Control, press R. That took us up to 4,402. We were previously at 512, so I'll push this. Looking at the squares, right? I move my mouse. Squares get slightly smaller. The slightly smaller squares means higher resolution. I hold Control, press R. 6,000. More. Control R. 10,000. So more than 10,000. That's fine. Okay, the tools that I use here doesn't mean you have to use these tools. It's generally how you prefer it to work. So I like the crease brush for most of my detail work. What we're going to do here is we're going to dig in underneath the chest here. We're not trying to put extreme detail in. There should be a clavicle bone around here. So we're digging in that. We have the crease brush. I'm not clicking anything. If you hold Control in the crease brush by default pushes in. If you hold Control, the crease brush will push out. So just quickly, we're putting in some detail for the neck. I'm going to hold Control right underneath this rib cage bone here. I'm also going to dig down here on the side. So I'm not holding Control now. And I'm basically making that muscle, the abdominal muscle there. I'll go towards the front to split the abdominal muscles. Typically there's a muscle here, external obliques around this area. So I put a line going here, here. It's good to have reference. With your back, you're going to have a split down the back. Pretty much every humanoid character, just about every humanoid character, you'll have a split down the back there, right? Clavicle bone should be somewhere around here. So I'm digging in here. Clavicle brush muscles, not muscles, the bones that like represent the clavicles. And basically you see like around here, you should be having about the space of a head in between. Learn that from Speed Character. Right here, there's a thing in bodybuilding you call the Christmas tree. And it kind of looks like a Christmas tree. So You want to have like this line go down here, a line come up here. This would be your lats. They kind of come down to there. Go back to the front view. Okay, we'll go back here. We'll go back to our elastic deform brush. Pull this down some like that. Yeah, we just want the basic details here. When we turn, when we don't see a reference behind, we can see a little better to work. So I'm going to go back to the crease, press F, find that line slightly more. Around here, there's muscles that go basically like this, kind of hinting at the detail rather than getting seriously into it. Putting a line here to more define the shoulders. More hinting at than trying to fully make. Holding shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan, pushing this back in. Moving the reference here, taking a look at what we have. Making this line deeper here. Deeper there. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper part of the screen. I went to object mode. I'm going to shrink this cube. Just a placeholder for now. However, it's kind of bothering me. That's better. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I learned this, yet another thing I learned from Speed Car or Speed Char, maybe it is. That's what the guy's YouTube channel. I learned a lot of the stuff that I'm showing you here from. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. If you want to check out more of like how this is done, he's got all kinds of like spectacular videos. Anyway, this thing right here, I saw him do. I can't remember seeing anybody else do this, and what this is being used for. And what I'm about to show you is a very quick way to make the arms and legs, which I really like a lot. I'm going to hold Shift, press A. When we press Shift A, this allows us to bring things into Blender. Objects tend to come into Blender where the 3D cursor is at. We're going to go to Curve. We're going to select Belzier, right? We're going to use this Belzier curve to make an extremely quick arm. So I'm going to press R to rotate, press S to scale this up. I'm pushing this down in a way so I can see what's going on. I'm going to press R. We want this to go pretty much like underneath the shoulder there, right? Okay, so with this here, what we want to do is, this is a curve, is what we brought in. So right here is a mesh, this is a curve. Typically when you're working with 3D, you're often working in with the mesh. Curve is also very useful. Curve is different though. So when you have a curve, you have this option here, which is a symbol basically showing that you're working with a curve. In this setting here, right? What you want to, or in this panel here, what you want to do is look down to where you see geometry, select the arrow so you can see more. Then you'll see bevel, right? Where you see the bevel, you'll see depth. You want to take this depth up, and what this does is this gives you thickness for your curve. Okay, what's nice about using a curve for the arm is very quick. We can go into edit mode, even though this is a curve. When we go into edit mode, instead of seeing faces, vertices, things like that, you can see we see things much different, right? So what you want to do here is this, the way these look, these curve control points, if I left click, you just see points, right? When I press A, you see the different curve objects. So with A selected, what you're going to do is right click and then you're going to select subdivide. Now when I click this button, there's going to be another third object, or another object. It's going to be a third one. So that's there, right? So we're going to use this for the elbow. You're going to click the center of that. You're going to press V. This brings up your set handle type menu. You're going to select vector. The reason why you're doing this is kind of subtle, but this makes there be kind of like a sharp angle to the curve that we're going to use for the elbow. Okay, we're going to go back to a front view. So one of the nice things about the curve, we're going to add in another curve. I'm just telling you that ahead of time. We can click here. So generally when you're manipulating these curve controls, you're going to click for the center part of the curve. You can grab and twist the curve. That like the curve is nice to use because it allows you to, in a sense, pose the arm as you move it. It's also easy to control the density of the arm. So with this point here clicked, we're going to hold Alt, press S, and then we can make that bigger. We're going to do, for this point, we want to press G. We're going to move this up to around that elbow area. We're going to hold Alt, press S for this as well. Move this here. Now I want to make the form thicker. So what we're going to do is press A to select all of the control points. We're going to right click and then we're going to select subdivide again. Now we have this here. So we can press G, move this up, hold Alt, press S, put the screencast keys on. Hopefully that'll make things easier for you. So we have the general fullness of this arm in place. Click here, press G to move that back some. Now we can easily adjust this arm. I don't want this quite that thick. Go back to a front view. Hold Shift as well as the middle mouse to pan. Okay, we're going to go back to object mode by going towards the upper part of the screen. We're going to select object mode. We're going to hold Shift, press A. This brings it up our add to menu. We're going to go to curve, belzier to bring in another belzier curve. Push this straight down, push this over. We're going to press R to rotate. We're going to press S to scale. Moving this to the general length of the leg. Okay, as far as the setup for the leg, this is almost exactly the same. What we want to do is go to the curve. We're looking in the geometry setting, in the bevel setting. We're going to take this up. Now you're not taking, when you take this up, you're not taking this up the full length of the leg. Kind of think of it as almost like you're putting a bone in and you're going to work putting like muscle on top of the bone. Same thing for the arm. You generally don't want to think about necessarily taking it all the way up, kind of like in between the bone and the muscle that's going to go on there. So very similar before. We're going to go to the top of the screen, go to edit mode. You can see both these handles, which means they're both selected. We'll right click, we'll select subdivide. We'll go to the middle control point. We'll press V, then we'll select vector. That gives us this sharp point. We'll go to the move tool, push this forward some. We'll go back to the front. We'll select the dot right in the center. We'll hold Alt, then press S to make that bigger. Select here, press G. We'll move that up some. Hold Alt, press S to make that slightly bigger. We want to get something for the calf, so we'll select A to select everything. Right click, select subdivide. We have this point now. We'll select this up, move this around the calf area, hold Alt, press S to make that bigger. This will make smaller, hold Alt, press S, like that. We'll look at this from the side. We can grab two of these points to kind of push that forward some. Go back to the front. Looks good. Okay, then we can see this is popping out slightly here. So we'll click, drag that over some like that. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to object mode. We're going to select this curve, hold shift, select this curve while holding shift, and letting go of shift because we were holding shift, we're able to select more than one object at a time. These are both still curve objects. We're going to hold control, then press J while holding control. We join these two curve objects together, right? So now what we want to do is turn these into mesh objects. Main reason we joined these together was just to make things faster, by the way. What we're about to do here, you could do individually. I chose to join these together just because it would make things slightly faster. So anyway, we're going to go up to object. And then what you want to do is we're going down to convert. The reason why we're going to convert is because these are mesh objects. We want them to be mesh objects. So we select mesh. So they look pretty much the same. However, they are mesh objects now. Okay, so now that these are mesh objects, we're going to go into edit mode. So now we go into edit mode and we see both the objects because we join them as one object. We'll press A to select everything. We then press F. The reason why we pressed F was there was a hole here as well as here. F filled in those holes automatically. So I'll left click, then deselect. I'll go back to the top of the screen. I'll go to object mode. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here. So we got to use this to help us work. Okay, so now with that done, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the right of our screen, select the wrench. It looks like a wrench. It's our modifier tab. We'll select mirror. We'll click mirror. When we selected mirror, things were mirrored, but in a crazy way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to mirror object. We'll use the eyedropper. We'll select this main piece just because that's in the center. So now we're using this as an object, center object basically. That's why things are mirrored correctly. Okay, so what we'll do here, I'm going to click this triangle here. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into sculpt mode. Here in sculpt mode, what I want to do is increase the geometry. The current geometry is 892 for all of this. So what we're going to do is press R to rotate. I'm moving my mouse to the right. I'll left click, then I'll hold control, press R. So we did a remesh. Now we have 2,000 geometry. I really want that to be about 5,000. Close enough for now. So I'm going to hold shift as well as the middle mouse button. The first thing I'm going to do is use the elastic deform brush to slightly pull out or to position our geometry more. When I say position it, I mean to fill out according to the reference. That's basically what I'm doing. Typically when you're sculpting, you would have this X on. We have the mirror modifier on. This X works very similar to the mirror modifier. Eventually we will use this. Right now it's not necessary. And this is the only actual geometry. That's why if I try to move here, nothing happens. So yeah, we want general shapes right here. So I'm going to go to the crease brush. I'll put a line in here. Kind of up here. The way the forms work is they actually run like up here. It's almost like they're grabbing like... The way I try to think of forms when I'm working on them, imagine this was like the head of like I don't know, some kind of creature, and this is actually its mouth, and it's like this would be like the eye if it was a mouth. This would be like the eye if it was a creature. Its upper jaw would be here, lower jaw would be here, and it's kind of like grabbing onto it's biting onto the arm. Kind of helps me out. Anyway, for here, what we want to do is we want to set up for our elbow, so that elbow kind of comes out from the it comes down from the tricep. I think it's actually going to be easier if we increase the geometry all the way up to 10,000. So we'll 17,000. That's more than I want. I'm going to come down some. I'm holding Control R. When I'm doing that, when you see me, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the size of the squares. 14,000. 11,000 is close enough. All right. So yeah, so as far as the elbow joint, you kind of want to, we can actually probably draw this in here. Elbow joint comes down. You definitely don't want it this sharp. Comes down from the tricep area. Go back to our crease brush. Triceps come down like this. I find that when, depending on like the size of muscle that you want for your character, you want to dig in more than add, if that makes sense. It's almost like you use the geometry that's already there to, in a sense, dig in to form your muscles rather than using clay strips to add on. And then I find it's better if I'm not trying to do like a super huge character to dig in like later on. I mean, add on later on. So I'm gonna, same thing here for the bicep. I'm basically digging in to form the bicep rather than adding a lot of muscle. I'm going to go to clay strips here. That mouth I talked about, it should come up here. So I guess I'm doing what I just said not to do. I'm going to go back to basically want this muscle to come. This muscle basically overlaps, goes over top of this muscle. This muscle basically runs underneath. I don't want to get too crazy yet. If you make like issue, something happens, you want to change, you can pretty easily take the elastic deform brush and move things around. Don't get too caught up on what we're doing here right now. We're gonna change this later. Right here, what you want to do is we're pulling out a shape for the hand. I shouldn't say the hand, I should say part of the hand. Zoom back. It's fine. Okay, I'm going to go to the crease brush. I'm going to look to this line right here, right? I'm going to press F to decrease the size of my brush. I'm going to drag from this line up. This is the sartorius muscle runs typically right along here. I'm going to try to quickly make out a go along this line for the quadricep muscle, slightly there. I'm holding shift as well as the middle mouse button in the pan. I'm turning more so I can see what I'm looking at without the reference, than needing to rotate. I'm going to dig in, very similar like we were doing for the arms. See, I have this like the quadricep muscle. The way I'm digging in, it looks like it looks like it's going over the knee. You can also put a line going down here. Good old sternocleido. What is it? Sternocleido, whatever. I know these things from long time ago. Just having these muscles in my head. Anyway, for this right here, you want this to basically come and curve up like this. Don't get too much into this. Should be vastus. What is vastus lateralis right here? Yeah, don't get too into this. Here, put 2 dents there. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do is we want to drag out some mesh for the feet so we can work on them later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold shift and then press A. When I move my mouse, right, it's important that you remember that we have a mirror modifier on, right? So this is this side that you see me moving my mouse, like the blue cursor's over. This is the only quote unquote real side, right? So if you try to do this in the other side, you probably will be wondering why this isn't working, right? So you're gonna put mesh here. So we have that there, right? Typically, if you're doing kind of like we're doing, you have a sharp edge to the mesh. If you go up to mask and either mask smooth or sharpen mask, it makes things smoother. Why sharpen mask makes things smoother, I'm not sure, but it does. I'll choose a smooth mask for now. So right now this is protected, right? So we can work with this area, but not here. We want the opposite, so we'll hold Control, press I. That sets up our invert. We'll go to right view. Then we'll go to our elastic deform. Pull this down. I'll press F to make my mouse bigger. And drag this. Basic deform foot there. I recommend you make this bigger than it needs to be, not from the front, but from the bottom, and you'll see why. So if you want smoother control, you can go to the grab brush, press F, shrink this down. Not smoother, more direct control, I should say. Go to the front. For the front, typically what helps with this is the inflate brush. Maybe the mask. So I'll hold Alt, press M to turn the mask off. Oh, know what's going on? I'm on the wrong side, just like I was previously telling you. It's this side, right? Front. Go to the elastic deform. Here. Press F. All right, so the reason why I said bring this down more than it needs to be, you can kind of look what's going on here in the front. Should be wider. Oh, I'm doing the same thing. Work from the side that's actually there. Incredible how much a tutorial helps you to learn yourself. All right, this is really nice. We want the bottom of the foot to be pretty flat, right? This tool is excellent. So this is called Line Project. What you need to know about Line Project is going to look like when we're going to use it. We're going to use it to flatten this out, to basically get rid of this mesh underneath the line of the reference. It doesn't actually delete the mesh. What it does is it flattens out the mesh by, for lack of a better word, compressing it. That's very useful because that stops us from having issues that typically might happen from having holes in the mesh. So what you want to do is drag the line out, right? Currently, that's in a proper position. That's what we want it to be. See that gray line? That gray, whatever's beneath that gray line is going to disappear. If we wanted that gray line to flip with using this tool, typically F makes our brush smaller and bigger. In this sense, it would make that line flip. However, we don't want it to flip, so we let go, and you can see that looks flat there. I'm going to hold Shift to smooth this out. Oh, because I'm using Line Project, I guess I'm not smoothing it out. So that's interesting. Line Project doesn't let you automatically switch to smooth out. Okay, currently we're in the sculpt mode of our arms and legs. I want to go to the sculpt mode of our torso. Previously, I went to object, then selected this, then went to sculpt mode. It takes a lot of extra time. I learned from the YouTube channel Speedcar, C-H-A-R, or Speedchar. I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyway, I'm guessing it's Speedcar. What you can do is you can hold over the torso. I'm going to press F, shrink this. I'm going to hold Alt, press Q. See that flash? Now we're in the sculpt mode of our torso. Very nice. So what we're doing is making the shoulder look better. Attempt to make it look better. It should come down to basically work with the arm. I'm going to go to draw sharp to dig in here. So here we don't have a mirror on this, by the way, so we have this on. So that's where we're getting our symmetry here. I'm pushing this back some. Since we're in here, we might as well define some of the heads. So the heads basically come down into like this center piece right here. Brachialis muscle. So since it's so easy to do, we'll put some definition in there. All right, so what we're going to do is slightly define this more. All right, so we're going to go to object mode. We're going to select the arms and legs. We're going to select apply. We'll hold shift, select the upper torso, hold control, press J. So now this is one object, right? We'll go to sculpt mode. And then here in sculpt mode, even though this is one object, these objects aren't joined together. So what we're going to do is hold control, press R. So now they're joined together, the different objects. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to press B for box select. We're going to select the hand right at the wrist. We'll go to mask. Smooth mask. We're then going to go to mask and then mask slice to new object for the hands. We'll click back on our main mesh and then go back into sculpt mode. There's still mask on there, so we'll hold Alt, press in Alt as well as M to get rid of the mask. Okay, so what we're going to do now is zoom in. I'm going to use the hand pan. I'll press F to increase the size of my brush. I'm going to hold shift. I'm holding shift now. I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm left clicking. For this here, we're going to go to the elastic deform brush. Pull this down some. Inflate this some. Front view. Good old gluteus maximus kind of looks like a butterfly on people, so you kind of have like the round shape there. You kind of want to pull into the side here. Hold shift. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is go to the crease brush, press F to decrease the size of my brush. I'm defining the abdominal muscles more. By the way, when I was talking about the heads here, I was talking about the heads of shoulder muscles. So basically, I'm adding detail here. So the way I like to do abs, my current way I like to do abs. So you basically have these abs go all the way up here. These typically aren't well defined. This here, I kind of like this to be more, slightly more of a circular shape. Like, and I'm talking about these. Oops, I'm talking about like these four here. Even though they're like in ab shape, I kind of like pulling them into more of a circular shape. Normally for this, going down here, that's pretty good. Here, I'm cutting, there's typically three, well, there's more than three. I'm going to focus mainly on three, maybe four, the muscles that generally go to the side here. They connect into the side, so they're basically here. And they run into there. Using the hand to pan. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to add a smooth modifier on. Go to this factor, change this to 1. Slightly smooth that out. We'll then apply that. Okay, let's take a look at the hands. I'm going to hold shift, press B. This lets me draw a zoom box. I'll hold shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. Okay, so for the hand, I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to right click. I held shift and right click actually, so when I'm holding shift now, as well as right clicking. When you hold shift and right click, you put the 3D cursor to where you're clicking at. Wherever you have the 3D cursor at is where objects tend to come into Blender at. I'm going to hold shift, press A, go to mesh, select cube, shrink the cube down. It's going to be the basis for our fingers. Push this down, go here, go to sculpt mode. Have a better base point, just widening this out basically, making it slightly wider. The thumb less wide. Whoops. Shift, holding shift for smooth. Basic thumb shape. Alright, so go here. That's the scale of this like that. Basically, my scale, I'm looking at the thumb, saying, okay, that looks correct for the most part. I'm going to go to edit mode. Go to face, select. Turn that slightly. I'll hold control, press A, then select. Apply all transforms. I held control, pressed A to do the all transform. If you don't do that, you tend to have issues in sculpt mode. So now what I'm going to do is hold control. And this is allowing me to make fingers, basically, essentially. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is add a subdivision surface. Take that to 2, press A, I think it's Shift E to make this sharper. So basically we have our first finger. I'll hold Shift, press D. Okay, so the 3D cursor is up here, right? To deal with that, so it's not annoying, you go to Object, set origin to geometry. So now we can actually work with our fingers. I'm pressing R to rotate. Doesn't necessarily matter the axis here. I'm going to Shift D again. So what you want to do here is give yourself some distance for possible rigging in the future. I'm making these bigger than this hand because I can shrink this down to get what I want. So right now I'm not. This one doesn't have the origin point. So I'm going to go to Object, set origin to geometry, or to rotate. Position the fingers, and then what I'll do most likely is I'm going to press S to scale this one slightly bigger. Is I'll probably select them all and scale them down. Okay, so I'll select them, press S to scale them down, move them so that they're set up to be the hand, rotating them. Press S to scale them up slightly. S to scale on the X-axis, nope, Y-axis. There we go. I'm going to hold Shift over here. Zoom into the hand and take a look. Looks like it needs to be longer. I'll press S to scale on the Y-axis. That. I'll click here. I'll go to sculpt mode. I'll go to the inflate brush. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of the different fingers by holding Shift. I'm going to select Apply All. Okay, good. It applied them to all of that. I'm going to hold Shift to select the base hand. I'm going to hold Control J. I'll go to sculpt mode. And I press R to take this geometry up. Control R, not enough, nowhere near enough. Probably need to take this up to at least 20,000 to have those fingers not joined. Still joined at 12,000. I'm hitting Control Z. What's happened? 42,000, they barely joined. That's what I needed to have them. I can actually go to object mode, press S to scale. Nope. I'll go to object, set origin to geometry. It's an easy way of making it somewhat longer. And then what I'll do is move this so it's in here, connected with that. I'll select here, hold Control, press J to join that, right? See how this hand isn't correct? So what I'll do is go to sculpt mode, look for the XYZ, the arrow next to there, minus X2 plus X. I think minus X is this side. So basically what this symmetricize does is we'll make this side look like this side. I think that's correct. Let's see. It was. So now we have our hands there. Okay, as far as the fingers, let's try holding Shift A. Didn't work. Shift A. There we go. That works well. All right, so what I'm doing here with this finger is I held Shift A, and then I dragged my mouse over the finger, right? The reason why I did that is what I want to do is I want to... I'm actually going to press Control I to invert this finger. I'm going to press T. There's something called the pose brush. So with the pose brush, typically the basic way is if you make the pose brush the basic size of your finger, you can pose. So I'm going to make this bigger. It's frustrating. There's like no mask there. All right, so there's different options to make this work better. Let's see. Okay, so we can make this work by face sets. I'm going to hold Control, press I again. I'm going to go to face sets. I'm going to choose this to face set from mask. I'm going to hold Alt and press M. So now with this tool, we'll choose this to face sets. Oh, that works well. Wow, that works very well. So basically, the reason why I'm saying this works well is because with the face set, this is going right to where I want it, which is the base. So I can move this whole finger to the side like that, which is excellent. So I'll hold Alt, press M. So to get rid of the face set, one of the things I can do is go to face sets, set face set from visible. I'm going to hover over this here, hold Shift A, move this. Interesting. I wonder if I shrink my brush. Shift A. For the most part, it worked. Let's see if that works. Face set. Whoops. Mask. Not gonna work. Control Z. Shift A. It works pretty good here. Face set from mask. Oops, Alt M. You have to take away the mask before you go to work. Face set from visible. So here I'll go. I'm going to click off that brush. I'm going to hold Control, hold Shift. Now I'm dragging a mask. Now, that's one of the issues is. Okay, let me try this again. Alt M, hold Control, hold Shift. So what I did was I turned the view away, so I'm like aimed away from the body. That's why I did that. So I'll go to face set from mask, hold Alt M. I'm taking away the mask. So basically what's happening is there's a face set over this, right? Even when I put the face set on there, the mask is still there. So if I go to move this with the mask on, the mask protects this from moving. So I press Alt M to take the mask away. So the whole reason for this is to give the fingers enough space to try to not have things like what happened here to happen. I'm going to go to face set from visible. Okay, this thumb here, I'm going to go to my elastic deform. Pull that to the side. Here, you can see there's not enough mesh here, so we can build this up like this. Go to crease. Whoops. Control Z. Put this thing around like that thumb area there. Using crease to try to deal with that. Some clay strips here. I'm gonna scrape. Ugh. Didn't click it. Flatten that out some. Don't get too into all this because things will change from remeshing and all that. The clay strips works very good for building up mesh. Let's go to draw. Kind of drawing the bones that would run like they would in a hand. Thumb slightly thicker. Because we have our symmetry on, everything we do on this side should be, for the most part, translating to the other side. Okay, let's take a general overlook. We're going to remesh to join the hands to the rest of the body. We're going to take a quick look. These knees look a little strange there. Oops, wrong thing. Yeah. There we go. Trying to prepare for making the hands connect, officially connect. So we'll press R. We're going to take this way up, probably almost at 200,000. Control R, 60,000. Hands joined together. Press R. $190,000. Not bad. For the hands there. So now the hands are, basically the hands weren't joined until now. Now they're joined. Smoothing this out some. Okay, as far as here, I'm going to take the crease brush and basically dig this in and basically have the chest go right into the shoulder there. We'll go to draw sharp. shift to smooth out that some. We can go to the elastic to form. Smooth that some. Back to elastic to form. Basically dragging the biceps how I want them. Use an inflate to make that distance not be so much. Inflate on the bicep. Trying to make the form join more with the bicep there. Trying to make the shoulder look better than it looks now. Tricep a little off. Elastic to form. Legs. The reference. Pushing and pulling things into place to make them more match up with the reference. We'll go at a smooth. Smooth tends to be a thing that covers over issues. Apply that. Okay, I'm going to hold the mouse button to rotate. I'm going to select this head, or stand in for the head. I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm going to right click, subdivide this once. Go back to object mode. I'm going to add a subdivision surface to this. Press S to scale on the y-axis. Then I'll apply that. Let me go to front mode. Go to sculpt mode. Oh, there's the warning. I'm going to hold control, press A. This brings up our apply menu. I'm going to select all transforms. I'm going to go to the elastic deform, which I'm on. I'm going to select X so we can work with symmetry. I'll pull chin down. This is a stand-in, so I'm not going to spend. I'm going to tell myself I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So we're pulling out the head to match the basic reference. rotate. I'm going to press R, move to the side so I can take up the resolution. I'll hold shift. Go to the crease. Right above the ears, around the top of the ears are where eyes would generally be at. Don't want to spend too much time on this. Stand in. I'm holding control while holding that to basically put, I'm holding shift now, jawbone, or kind of make it look like there's somewhat of a jawbone there. Pull out somewhat for the chin. Be the eye area. I'm going to hold control, press R is what I just did. Okay, I went to object mode. I'm going to hold shift right click. There we go, shift right click. I'm doing this because where the 3D, I press shift right click to put the 3D cursor there. Wherever the 3D cursor is at is where objects tend to come into Blender at. Broaden this sphere so I can press S to scale on the Y axis like this. I press S to scale on the X axis like this. Doing this to make a quick ear. R to rotate on the Y. R to rotate on the Y axis. Press S to scale, make that bigger. Scale. S to scale on the X axis. I'll add a mirror modifier. I'll select the head. I'll apply that mirror modifier. R to rotate on the Z axis. Probably should have applied it, so I'll delete this. The right view, here's the ear. Add a mirror modifier again. Hopefully that's better. Apply that. Okay, I'm looking at this neck. Shrink this very slightly. I'm going to hold shift, select the head, hold control, then press J. So now with that joined to the head, I'm going to hold shift, select the body, hold control, then press J to join that to the body. Okay, with this selected, I'll go to sculpt mode. This, when you bring something jointed in Blender, it automatically makes a face set for it. So I'll go to face sets. I'll select face set from visible. So now they're all the same face set. Okay, I'll zoom back. So this is not part of the body yet. So what I'll do is I'll hold control, press R. So now, when I said this wasn't a part of the body, what I meant is it wasn't joined. Like now this is a natural part of the body. So with that done, let's go to draw. Start changing some basic details. We have our clavicle bones that go right above the chest. They should come over to about the center of the shoulders. Kind of forms almost a triangle. Should come over here. That's somewhere from the around the area, that ear area. These muscles should come straight down. Shift. I'll hold Control, press R. Hold and Shift to smooth them out. I'll go to Scrape Brush. We can use the elastic deform to make changes without doing too much to the geometry in a way where things get out of control. The elastic deform helps you to keep things in control, which is what I really like about it. Basically, with the grab brush, sometimes you'll grab and you'll grab a point when you don't want to. All right. The arms, the biceps look strange to me, so I'm gonna hold Control. Let's look at our reference. Yeah, so I'm gonna hold Control, hold Shift, draw a mask here. I'll go to Mask. And then Smooth Mask. The reason why you want to do this is when you move something, you don't want there to be very much topology. This will stretch. However, with the Smooth on, it's easier to work with, it being the mesh. I'll hold Control, I'll press I to invert that mask. Okay, if we want to make something grow, like the hands generally come down to about the mid upper thigh, at least that's where I think they should. So what we can do is we can go to Scale. Because we only have this geometry showing, the rest of the geometry is masked. We should be able to push up, watch the hand. That should be good. I'll hold Alt, press M. Okay, I want to make the biceps longer, so I'm going to hold Control, hold Shift, draw a mask around the area that I want to work with. I'll go to Mask, Smooth Mask. I'll hold Control, then press I. I'll invert. Biceps look kind of strange to me. Let me go to clay strips. It looks strange specifically, like over here. It doesn't look like it's coming over strange far enough to me. Clay strip is very good for building things up. I used to almost always use the blob brush. I'm starting to learn to appreciate clay strips more. Go back to crease. I think that looks better. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to get rid of the mask. Shoulders, let's go back to the clay strips. Well, actually, let's, with the chest actually, this part of the chest goes underneath the shoulder. What I'll do is I'll hold Control as well as Shift, select here, go to Mask, Smooth Mask. I'll drag the chest so it's kind of like more going towards the shoulder, I'll hold Control, press I. So I wasn't that concerned about the shoulder going over. I'll drag this down, hold Shift, smooth this out. Go to the crease brush. I'm gonna hold Control to make this like a sharper edge there. I'll hold Alt, press M to get out of that mask mode. I'll hold Control, press R to remesh. Shrink my brush. There's 3 heads to go into the deltoid typically. Holding Control to make kind of like a sharp point right there. I'm probably going to sharpen up different pieces on the body and then smooth it out. I find that the smoothing helps a lot. The main thing I'm trying to do here is get pieces that we didn't get before as far as detail or wanting more detail with them. So these are the hamstrings. They kind of go from around the knee area like a V up there. I'm gonna hold Control, put a slight sharpness on the bottom of that calf. Go back to the front by holding the middle mouse button. Okay, from the inside of the leg, want to come from here and then go down towards the ankle like this. Go ahead and inflate. So yeah, I'm going to take the crease brush and these different things up here, sharpen them again. If you're like, well, you sharpened it before and smoothed it, it tends to give it the mesh you're working on. I think it works well. Sharpening it and then smoothing. You do these lines here, you can run the lines from here right into the abs that are already there. If you want to, depending on how much detail, again, we're going to smooth this. So it's kind of like hinting at stuff. I'm sharpening the muscles here by holding Control and crease. This sharpness will for the most part be taken away when we smooth. Holding Control, putting a slight sharpness up. See, I'm going right on the edge. Now I'm not holding Control. I'm adding to the crease. Holding Control now, kind of gone slightly away from the edge, putting this sharpness in. I'm not holding Control. So whenever when I'm holding Control, I'm adding sharpness in. This knee here, putting sharpness here. Forearms are an interesting, so they come from the side, over top. The one muscle goes over top of the other muscles. There's a lot of muscles in the forearm. The two that show are the ones you really want to be concerned about. These like big two. This one that goes over the other one. So the main one you see. There's a up near the clavicle. There's like an indentation often here. Go here, kind of adding lines in so that when I sharpen, we won't lose too much detail. I'm holding control here, by the way, to sharpen this up. If you're like, well, why, if you're taking it away, why take the time? I think it makes the character looks better, even though we will take it away. There's a bunch of stuff where it's kind of like it's the hinting of things being there. If that makes sense. Taking the center line deeper. Okay, if we hold them in the mouse button, look to our side. If you hold shift and press B, you can draw a zoom box to zoom in. So I'm zoomed in on the hand. See the space between the hands. If you want to adjust things like this easily, I recommend you go to the snake hook brush. I'm talking about, this space here. This looks like it should be here. So what we can do is with the snake hook brush selected, drag that back. Might have to let go a few times. Okay, I also want to make the fingers thicker, so I'm going to go to inflate. Press F. Don't want to make these too big, so I'm dragging along the fingers. I'm going to be careful of the space in between. This looks kind of strange here, so I'm going to go to the elastic deform brush. Press F to shrink my brush. Drag that out to the side. Something like that. From here, let's push that in to have more of a wrist. Okay, I want to scale the hand up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift, press A, move the hand. It's not quite what I wanted. So I can leave the hand scale like this. I could have, sometimes you'll have the opposite of that effect. We'll go with this. When I say the opposite, basically what I mean is like you would, everything would be masked, and then as you push your hand up, push your mouse up, you would demask, right? So with the hand mask, right, like that, I'm going to go to mask and then smooth mask. I did that to smooth out this line right here. Now I want to scale here, right? When I go to the, I'm going to scale, when I say here, I'm going to scale the hand. The hand is currently masked. The mask means the hand's protected, so I'm going to hold Control, press I. Now I can scale the hand. When I go to the scale, one of the things that happens though is pivot point is, it's over there. It's actually not bad. If I press Shift A and then right click, okay. If you need to move the pivot point for the scale, a good way to do it is to mask something inverted, or basically have what you want unmasked, and you press Shift A to move the pivot point in sculpt mode to the object. Otherwise, if the pivot point was up here and I scaled, the hand would basically like extrude away, right? I just want the hand to go up. I learned this from Blender Secrets. Anyway, with this on the other side, I should be able to One other thing, I right click. It's you probably want to go to see this transform mode at the top where it says all vertices. You probably want to go here, turn this to elastic. Try this again. Alt M, Shift A. Mask, smooth mask, Control I. I need this to be bigger, so F, okay, F to scale. There we go. Looks better to me. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the elastic deform brush, hold Shift. While I'm holding Shift, I am basically going to here, even though I'm not, it being Blender doesn't show the change. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Add Modifier, go to Smooth to add a Smooth modifier. Okay, one of the things we're going to want to do is, before working with the smoothing, is we're going to go to Edit Mode. We're going to go to the upper left where we see Select Box. We're going to click and hold. We're going to go down to Lasso Select. So what we're going to do is select the body, dodging the hands. Once we have that, what we're going to do is go to this green triangle, go select the plus button all the way to the right. We'll see this group. We could rename this. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to select Assign. I'm going to left click to get off of there. I'm going to go back to Sculpt mode. Okay, the reason why we did that is I'm going to click back on the wrench. So here's our smooth setting. So look at our hand here, right? So basically, often smoothing tends to make things look better. However, it does tend to have adverse effects on the fingers. I'll show you this where we're going to go to factor 1, change that to 1, I mean. The repeat will change this to 28. So you see the fingers, what happened? So what we did was we made a group where we could apply this smooth only to the vertices that we selected, which were everything but the hands. So we select vertex group, select group, and now the smoothing is on everything but the hands. I'm going to zoom back, hold the mouse button, rotate. I'm going to go to the upper part of the screen, go to Object Mode, go to our modifier panel, select Apply All, go back to Sculpt Mode, look to the knee, hold Shift as well as the middle mouse button to pan. Then I'm going to hold Shift to slightly smooth right here, hold the middle mouse button, rotate, holding Shift to smooth there, letting go of Shift, hold the middle mouse button to rotate, holding Control as well as the middle mouse button to do a smooth back camera move. Okay, we're just about done as far as the progress that I want to make this far into the video, or for this video. I plan to come back to this model and do a full face, hair, most likely some clothes. I'm not going to say that definite. It is my current plan though. Okay guys, that's the end of the video. For those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare the videos, thank you, I really appreciate that. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.